concept of various keys used in DBMS. What is the key? Keys are mainly used to uniquely identify each and every record from the table. So this also I mentioned here, keys, it plays an important role in the DBMS. It is used to identify one instance of an entity uniquely. Okay, here we can specify 4 different type of keys are available: primary key, candidate key, super key and foreign key. What is primary key? So primary key is uniquely identify each and every record from the table, and also it must be not null. This field can be differ for each and every record in the table. For example, if we are taking employee as the table base, we have mentioned the fields are employee ID, name, address and designation. Okay, so in this table I can underline only employee ID. Why? Means employee ID here can act as a primary key. So if we able to insert more records in this employee table, but we can uniquely identify each and every record with the help of employee ID. Why? Means it only unique for each and every record. If we can take name, we can able to consider as a primary key. Means in this organization, more persons are having the same name. That time it is very difficult to identify the particular record. So for that purpose only, we can define employee ID as the primary key for each and every employee. It is unique field for every record. It is easily identify every record with the help of this unique field. Okay, then it must be not null. Why? Means we are able to identify all those records based on this field only. In that field we can fill the value null, means it is very difficult to identify. So for that purpose only we can able to identify not null for that particular field. Okay, the next candidate key. What is the candidate key? What are the remaining keys are? Remaining field are used in the table. That field can be called as the candidate key. And also the candidate key is a part of super key. Okay, in the next one we can identify what is the super key. So here the candidate keys are name, address, designation, all those are candidate keys. Okay, the next super key. What is super key? The set of keys used to uniquely identify the record. Okay, here I can able to say with the first one primary key, employee ID only we can act as a primary key. In the super key means I can select 2 different records, 2 different fields, employee ID and the name. Why? Means we can call as the super key, we can able to collect more than one field from the table. Okay, here I can pick 2 different fields, employee ID, name. We are not able to individually selected name. Why? Means name is the common for more than one person having the same name. So that the purpose we can combine these 2 fields, employee ID and also the name can act as a super key. It is useful to identify the record uniquely. So for that purpose only we are combining these 2 fields. Okay. Then what is the last one? Foreign key. Foreign key means it is used to link the 2 tables via primary key. Okay, and also I am choosing one more table, department. So department, the table contains 2 fields, department ID and also the department name. Here also I can underline department ID. Why? Means it also acts as a primary key for this table. Okay, so what is the primary key and foreign key? Means primary key, it is uniquely identify each record from the individual table. What is the foreign key? Means in this employee table, here I can add employee ID. Okay, what is this employee ID? Means here the department ID. Department ID is primary key for this particular department table, but this department ID can ask the employee. Means here in this employee table, this department ID can act as a foreign key. Okay, for each and every employee can use to work under one department. So we can able to enter the department ID also for each and every employee. Okay, so can you identify it clearly? Here in the I am having 2 tables, employee and the department. In this employee ID as the primary key. The same thing in the department ID is the primary key. In this department ID primary key, I can use as the one of the field for employee. Means in this employee table, department ID can act as a foreign key. So one table primary key referred by some other table means that some other table field name can be called as a foreign key. Why? Means this key is not available in this table. With the reference of department table, we can able to get the value from this ID. So here department ID can act as the primary key for department table. This department ID can be referred by other table, that name called employee. So in this employee table, refer the same primary key. So here in this table, this department ID can act as a foreign key. So primary key for that one table, that primary key value referred by some other table means in our other table, that another table primary key can convert it into the foreign key. Okay, so these are the primary key and the foreign key. How this table can be defined is like this structures only we can able to define here. So create table EMP. So in this employee table I can able to create syntax, create table, then table name is the employee. In this table name what are the field I can define, that the field name here mention employee ID, varchar 2 of them, here primary key, and also we can able to fix not null also possible to define. Okay, then otherwise which field we don't need to make empty means that field also we can able to give the value of not null. Okay, in this table I can able to make not null only for the primary key. So for that only I can able to add for primary key along with the not null value. So in this employee table contain the fields are employee ID, varchar 10, then name varchar 2 of 20, then address varchar 2 of 30, designation varchar 2 of 10. Okay, without I am referring any foreign key means I can define the table with these 4 fields itself. Okay, so after the creation of after the execution of this syntax I can able to get the table like those 4 fields. Okay, the same thing I can able to create the department table also. Create table, department is the table name. I can able to mention 2 fields, department ID, varchar 2 of 10. In this table department ID can act as a primary key. This also I can able to give the value of not null also possible. Okay, then department name varchar 2 of 15. So after the execution of this query, I can able to get the table like this. Okay, so after creating an individual table, after that only I can make the foreign key constraint. So that purpose only I can define department ID references the table department. Okay, so department ID references the table department. So this field can be taken from the table department. So in this table, department ID can act as a primary key. When this department ID can be referred by some other table, that time only can act as a foreign key. So in this references can be made with the help of this query. With the help of this query only we can able to initiate foreign key for those department ID. Okay, so these are the keys used in the DBMS. The more remaining these keys are also available, but mainly we are focusing for these 4 keys only. Okay, thank you students. We will see in the next class.